I did not think it was possible, but it appears that even some Trump voters are seeing through his bullshit on immigration. Watch.
The question coming out of that rally yesterday with Ted Cruz and Donald Trump is, what does the rhetoric that the president is invoking when it comes to this migrant caravan, what types of voters is it going to turn out or even turn? We talked to countless individuals outside of that rally yesterday who said it was the first Donald Trump event they had ever been to. They said immigration was at the forefront of their minds in encouraging them to get out and vote in this midterm election. But there's other voters, though, that could be turned off by that rhetoric. And I want to introduce you to one of those. His name was Cody Woodyard. He lives here in Houston. We just met him. He voted early here on the second day of early voting in Houston. He comes from a conservative family. He voted for Donald Trump in 2016, but just cast his vote for the Democrat, Beto O'Rourke. This is part of the reason why.
Well, even like last night, the president talking about how that caravan coming into the United States is infiltrated with MS-13 members and, I don't know, like ISIS operatives or something. Just absolutely insane. I just hope people understand that they're not going to just come break down the doors and start wreaking havoc. I just don't want people to vote based off of misinformation or a misconception on what's actually going to happen.
Now, the irony of that last statement is obvious. So I don't want people to vote based on some misinformation. Well, this guy voted for Trump. So now look, if he has now educated himself and he has woken up to these issues that it appears he has, then good. I mean, we have a Trump voter here that is voting for Beto O'Rourke. So I know this is one person, but when there is one person, it often means there is more. So I think this does show that there are voters out there that really just weren't paying all that much attention in 2016, but they wanted somebody different. So they picked Donald Trump. And now that they see that maybe different isn't always a good thing, they're now waking up to that reality and realizing, hey, maybe I should go back to voting for some Democrats. Now, look, if you've watched my show, I'm not somebody that advocates for voting for any Democrat ever. I mean, there's an obvious range of Democrats from corporate sellouts to Democrats like Ocasio-Cortez that are actually fighting for people. So there is a wide range there. I think Beto O'Rourke falls somewhere in the middle. I don't think he is all that super progressive. On the other hand, he also isn't Hillary Clinton. So he is, especially for Texas, a fantastic choice for a Democratic senator. Now, there are going to be people out there that are not convinced, that are not convinced that these immigrants aren't going to wreak havoc once they hit the U.S. border. So let me show you some data on this. And this data comes the way of Cato Institute. Now, Cato Institute is a libertarian organization. This is a conservative organization, but they have the facts on immigrants and crime. So let me show you this graph and quote Cato Institute's article on this. In 2016, the homicide conviction rate for native-born Americans in Texas was 3.2 per 100,000 natives, while it was 1.8 per 100,000 illegal immigrants and 0.9 per 100,000 legal immigrants. The illegal immigrant conviction rate for homicide was 44% below that of native-born Americans in 2016 in Texas. So this graph here speaks for itself. If you are a native-born American, or I should say native-born Americans are much more likely to be convicted of homicide than illegal immigrants. Now, you may think, but how does that make any sense? I'm scared of immigrants. So because I'm scared of them, that must mean that they are more likely to commit crime. They are more likely to commit homicide. But that's just not true. So think about it in the terms of somebody coming here from another country. If you're coming here from another country, then there is a reason for that. And you likely don't want to be thrown out of the country you are coming to. So if you're coming from, say, Mexico to the US, if you commit a crime, there is a better chance of you being thrown out of the US. So knowing that, you are more likely to be on your best behavior while you are in America so that you can prevent the chance of you being thrown out of the country. I mean, this should just be obvious to anyone, but people don't often think about it because all they do is they see, oh, that's the other. I'm a white person. I am not scared of white people because white people look like me. I understand white people. I don't understand brown people, or I don't understand that language. So that means they're scary. That means they're more dangerous. But if you actually look at the data and just think about it for half a second, your fear of immigrants is completely irrational. Now, other people will say, but David, you can't, how do you know how many illegal immigrants are here? There is so many more illegal immigrants than what's being counted. Well, think about that for a second. If there are more illegal immigrants, then that means the rate of them committing homicide is even less than what the current data shows. So this again from the Cato Institute. The real number of illegal immigrants isn't too far off from the accepted estimate. But if those critics are correct and demographers are missing a large number of them, that means that illegal immigrant crime and homicide rates are even lower than reported here and elsewhere. Ann Coulter wrote that there are 36 million illegal immigrants in her best-selling book on immigration. If she turns out to be correct, and those 36 million illegal immigrants are distributed across the U.S. just as they are now, meaning that there are about 5.8 million in Texas, then the illegal immigrant homicide rate in 2016 was actually 0.56 per 100,000 illegal immigrants rather than the 1.8 reported here. If Coulter is correct, then she has unwittingly proven that illegal immigrants have the lowest homicide conviction rate of any population in the United States. And that's just Texas. So look, so you understand what I just read there. If there are more illegal immigrants, then that doesn't mean that the homicide stats grow, because the homicide stats are based in actual reality. These are people that have been convicted of homicide. So if there's more illegal immigrants, that doesn't mean that there's more killers. That simply means that the percentage of criminals that are immigrants, that are illegal immigrants, is even lower than the percentage that is reported there, because the vast majority of illegal immigrants that I guess aren't being counted, according to people like Ann Coulter, are not included in the crime stats because they are not part of the crime stats. Because if they were a part of the crime stats, they would be included in the crime stats, but they're not committing the crimes. So this idea that the illegal immigrants are they're bringing all the crime, they're bringing all the rape, all the death, all the murder, is just not found in reality. That's just complete bullshit. Now let me give you, as I said, I was just showing you the stats from Texas. Let me give you the stats nationwide. So again, showing this graph from the Cato Institute and quoting them here. Illegal immigrants are 47% less likely to be incarcerated than natives. Legal immigrants are 78% less likely to be incarcerated than natives. If native-born Americans were incarcerated at the same rate as illegal immigrants, about 930,000 fewer natives would be incarcerated. So those are the stats nationwide. So I showed you Texas. I showed you the U.S. as a whole. Now, maybe you think, oh, but I'm still scared of immigrants. Okay, fine. It's not based in reality. Understand that you're being irrational. Understand that you are the one that is wrong, and it's you that has to get over your fear of other people. Now, what happens to this caravan once they actually arrive at the U.S. border? So let me break down this whole process, because people have this idea that, like, what's going to happen? They're going to be pouring over the fence? Like it's, what's that zombie movie? All the zombies are just pouring over the fence. That's not what's going to happen here. There's an actual process, and there is a reason that they are able to do this legally. So this from ABC News. Under the 1951 United Nations Convention relating to the status of refugees and the 1967 Protocol, and adopted into U.S. law, the U.S. must recognize refugees that fear persecution and are not able to get help from their home country. Anyone who declares they are seeking asylum at a U.S. port of entry is then moved to undergo a secondary interview, during which another customs official must confirm the credible fear claim. The asylum seeker is placed in a holding area before being transferred to a separate detention facility under Immigration and Customs Enforcement custody, while he or she awaits a hearing with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services called adjudication. Adjudicators, who are often judges, decide if the person is allowed to stay in the United States under refugee status. So there is an actual legal process that these migrants have to go through to be able to claim refugee status. So this is not just, people pouring in and committing crimes and doing destruction. That's not what's happening at all. They're escaping a terrible country to come to a safer country, and there is a process, a legal process, that they go through. Now, you may be wondering, why are these people coming here? So let me show you this segment from NBC News.
Why are you marching? We are not criminals. We are fighting for a better life, Sandra Cortez says. She's pregnant and clutching her 1-year-old girl. The journey is grueling in the heat and through dangerous terrain, and there's no end in sight. Today, one migrant died, run over in an accident after falling off the back of a trailer. The caravan began earlier this month in Honduras, then plowed through Guatemala, now Mexico. It's planning to eventually reach the U.S., though it's not clear when. We want to go work there, 60-year-old Maria Carvajal says. She's making the trek with her granddaughter. In Honduras, opposition political figures started the loosely organized caravan, but it's now grown. After the group clashed with Mexican police on Friday, Sandra Maribel is rethinking the trip. And right now she's deciding whether to continue on this path or return to Honduras because she's worried it'll be too dangerous. But tonight, more are on the move and others are joining in with a showdown brewing at the U.S. border. Gabe Gutierrez, NBC News, Tapachula, Mexico.
So these are real people facing actual hardships, and some of them even die in the process of trying to come to a safer country. These are not criminals. These are not anybody to be scared of. These are people like you and me that are looking for a better life. Now, one thing not mentioned there is that a large reason for the people of Honduras to be escaping their country is because of a U.S.-backed military coup in 2009. Once again, the U.S. getting involved in other countries' business and creating a crisis. So, I mean, if any country should be taking these people, it's America. But again, we should all be opening our arms to people that are faced with this sort of situation. If you look at the crime stats that I showed you, you understand that these are people that are living in a country where they are not safe, where they fear for their lives every day. I mean, just be human for a second. If you have the opportunity to help others, it doesn't matter what country they're from, these invisible borders that we all think, oh, because you are on that side of the border, that means you're less than me. Think about how ridiculous that is. At the end of the day, we are all human. So open your heart for a second and open your mind and understand that if you are able to help people that are in very terrible situations, then why not do it?